Hi, I'm Meenakshi, and I do content and design at eGain. I also get to play with dots. Did you see these magnetic dots? We've got everywhere today. They're cool. Nice toys. And at eGain, we like playing with dots. When I'm going to be talking about our connecting dots to make knowledge easy. What is knowledge? Knowledge is that know-how that your contact center agents, field teams, and self-service systems need to answer or handle customer inquiries. So that's knowledge is the way we define it. I get to work on customer projects, and I design and help deliver knowledge systems. What we found, a bit of a trend these days, my last two projects were all about moving 13,000 articles across. We work with customers like you, complicated knowledge needs mostly, lots of compliance issues. So 13,000 complicated articles seems to be the typical size for a knowledge project these days. We do this usually in about 3 months. So a project that lands on my table will often be, OK, you've got 3 months. The client has one or more knowledge repositories. Could be SharePoint, could be another knowledge base that's working well, could be a bunch of things. And they've got 13,000 articles. They might have a 60, 75-year-old catalog of products to support. It's a fairly complicated setup. We're talking about doing this in 3 months, though, usually. And they have hopes. They have hopes from the new knowledge base. They've heard fantastic things about how knowledge can help every agent or even a self-service system be as good as the best agent. So they're hoping to get there in 3 months with our help. So what do? We've got options. We've got 3 options. We like the number 3. One option is clean up. So we help the client clean up. There are lots of them who want to do that. As a content person, I feel that urge. Housekeeping is almost like my first and basic habit. So, but can you clean up? Because what I've noticed is that in the biggest of companies, and we work with mostly really large companies, the knowledge teams are very, very understaffed. They're usually people with other day jobs. They're doing this as that extra thing that they do. So clean up in 3 months, happening with 13,000 articles? Maybe not. What is the other option? Move everything. Do a lift and shift. Take your 13,000 articles, move it to the new system. But remember, you have hopes from this new knowledge base. Do you want to move some of the mess that you know exists in that older system across? Maybe not. So what is the third thing that you could do? You do the 80-20. And that's the dance we like to do at eGain. It could be the 80-20. Sometimes I recommend the 90-10. And most of us here know what that is. It's that small set, relatively small set, of questions that are causing the most grief, that are getting asked over and over again, that really need to be dealt with in your knowledge base. So we discriminate. We look at all this knowledge and content that you have, and we say we're not going to treat it the same. Not all of it is equal. So we usually break it up into these 4 buckets. There's an essential content up there, the 20 or the 10 or the 5 even. There's frequently used content, things that get used but not so much. And then that part that you can let die, the unused, outdated, irrelevant content, that's just cost. That's cluttering things up, making it harder to find the essential content. So we do this kind of exercise with the help of our clients. And we go, let's get there. So one of the dots that is our favorite is what people like James provide, which is analytics. What is your analytics? What's available to you? What do you know about usage? What are people asking? That's the most important. What are people asking? What's the language that they're using to ask things? Do you have answers? Are those answers performing well? What is the customer's journey? Do people look at a piece of knowledge and go away somewhere? Is it doing its job? So just use whatever analytics you have to get to that notion of what is essential, what can be allowed to die. Okay. Yeah, I can say this over and over again and still really believe it each time I say it. Your knowledge base does not have to be complete. It has to only deal with that essential set of questions that are being asked. So we've identified that. We're doing all this in 3 months. So we've found out what people are asking. We have a sense of what our current knowledge is doing that job well, not doing that job well. What is this MVP content or knowledge? See, my content bias keeps showing up. I have colleagues who will say knowledge. I end up saying content very often. So what is this really valuable stuff that you need to create? And once you've identified it, once you know what needs to be put into this new knowledge base that you have hopes of, what do you do with it? And here are my top 3. So the first is treat it well. Again, going on that whole discrimination thing, you treat this knowledge really, really well. You look at what is being asked. You look at where people are asking. What do they really need? Spend time with that. That's totally worth it. And Kurt from Lands' End had a fabulous story. In retail, returns might be it. Maybe all you need to do is really obsess with returns. Spend a lot of time on returns. Do fantastic things with it. Take a long article or a set of HTML pages. Use all the dots you have, ML, AI, HTML, CSS, whatever you feel is useful. Create a guided help flow. Create some content that's easy to scan. Do what you need to make that knowledge shine, do the job it's supposed to do. So that's my 1. The second is, again, thank you, Kurt, if you're still here. The Lancet story really illustrated it. Once you've created that, using it everywhere is super easy. So within months, for instance, they could use the return space for their VA, on their help center on the website, and with the knowledge pool. So we also know, anyone in the content business will tell you this, that you cannot keep many copies in sync. We just know that. After years of failed projects, we've learned the hard way that you cannot keep copies in sync. That's not even an effort that you should undertake. So you really don't have a choice. You have to have that single source of truth. But what you can do with it is use dots like personalization. Or in our case, what we like to do is, if it's knowledge, we talk about portals, which is really just a different way of getting to that information, very easy to create. All that knowledge is already created. Your guided help flows are there, your articles are there. You almost take a different skin and user experience and get to it, depending on the devices you need to support, depending on the channels you need to support. And that's the easy part. Doing the first was the hard part. Identifying what you need, treating it well was the hard part. The second is relatively easy. But once, you just should be open to the possibility of, once you've done one, you should say, where can I use it? And you'll find you can use it over and over again. And sometimes you might need to personalize to the extent of your agents see more than what your customers would see. Your customers here see something else, and another set needs to see something else. All can be done in that single source. So single sourcing, authoring once, super important. Done once, you really and truly can use it everywhere. And finally, number 3, your 2010 5 will keep changing. Keep an eye on that. Keep using analytics to know what is it that they're asking today, what were they asking yesterday. Anticipate what are they likely to ask tomorrow when our company merges with another company, or we release a new product, or we retire a product. So that's really it. We've got one more session. Sam's going to come up and talk about chatbots. And then we've got cocktails in the demo lounge. Join us there. Find my friend, Dr. Ron. We love to talk about content strategy and knowledge all day. Thank you for listening.